Do you have the right image for your store if people are just passing by, or if you are a destination for them? Can they tell at a glance who you are and what you do? And does your store have the right image for what you sell? Let's take a look at Minds Alive. Toys, crafts, books, toy testers. You can see that their sign is big, it's visible, it's got a lot of contrast to it. You can see that here they show exactly what they do and what they offer. And to make it even more interesting, they actually have a little sidewalk sign here, Minds Alive, and then it says test toys, have fun. And you can stop on the sidewalk and read this, and it's one more encouragement to go in the store. So let's look at image for your place. It's ideal and individual. It's the picture reflected to the buying public and the community. Outside, 100% go by. Inside, you have 100% control over what people see. So image created plus image maintained equals target marketing. So first impressions equal image. Polish up your storefront with well-lit, professionally designed signs, paint, siding, facades, awnings. We're going to show you some examples of those. Arches, lattice, shutters, benches and bike stands, if that's appropriate in your neighborhood, landscaping and sidewalk art, flower boxes, planters, potted trees, and a welcome mat. Windows for product presentation. And of course, this is the biggest thing. When I say 100% go by, what are you showing, and of that percentage, how many people are coming in because of what you've got in the windows? And even that, if you put interesting things in the window and change it up, more people talk about it. So even if they may not come in and shop, if you did something in there that they found really amusing or interesting, they'll tell their friends, oh, you wouldn't believe what I saw when I went by such and such a store downtown. So that's all good. Maybe a move to a better location. Now this is interesting. When I first gave a seminar on how to polish up your store's image, I was in Alberta at the Alberta Gift Show, and I asked my audience of about 200 retailers mostly. I said, how many of you have moved to a new location? And about 5 or 10 people put up their hands, scattering and put up their hands. And I said, how many of you were afraid that if you moved, you'd lose customers? And the same people put up their hands. And then I said, how many of you are glad that you moved? And the same people put up their hands. So they were all glad that they had moved. It had turned out really well for them, but it was really scary. And in some cases, the area that you're in, or the place you're in, or the community you're in, things can take over. So all of a sudden now it's not really everybody's favorite shopping area. I've seen that happen in many cities. Things just seem to gravitate to one side or the other of certain streets in certain areas. And I had a client in Toronto. She actually moved twice because she called it Vagrantville, was actually creeping up and her store, and she felt like she was losing business and her clients didn't want to come to that part of the city anymore. So she moved actually twice, and both times her business flourished as a result of the move. So those were all good things. I want to show you an example of a client of mine that had moved from a couple of streets back onto the main drag of this small village, but one that was traveled by a lot of people. Skiers went up there in summer tours. It was just a wonderful place for people to go. Kind of a resort town, you might call it, convention centers and that kind of thing there. And he operated 3 businesses in the one location. And this happens to be his location here, right out on the main front street as you drove into the town. And you can see a close-up of it here. And when you look at the outside, because he sold ski equipment and trail hiking equipment in the summer, this was very appropriate for him to have this kind of a frontage on there. And you can see that the bench that he put outside here matches the door frame, so that's all working. And then the sign, he has Rocky Mountain River Guides, which is what in the summer he changed it up from skis to this group that came in and sold water rafting excursions, and that was here. And then his wife had a Walks and Trails Jasper, where she took people on walks around summer and winter. And I asked him, I said, how did you feel when you moved? And he said, really scary, because everything went up. His rent went up, his location went up, but he said that he had never regretted moving because everything went really well for him. And I'm going to show you other examples of what we did inside his store to make it look as good as it did outside. So distance versus eye level, let's take a look at that. Here's an idea that you could do. Awnings are wonderful for putting your signage on, and they also shade the window. And if they stick out far enough, then shade the window enough. People can actually see in better and see what's in your window easier. Then you don't have that black glass effect during the day. Here's another example of an awning. This is called Head Hut. And you can see that even when the cars are parked here, you can still see that awning, and you can still see and know where you're going. Because the awning is curved and has the sign on both sides, people walking down the street either way can also see that they're arriving at their destination. And of course, it's a hair salon, mostly for women. So the colors of the awning and the color of the building on the side being in the pink rose colors, feminine colors, is also very appropriate. And then, of course, when you come closer, you can see all their products in the window. It's very clear who they are, what they do, and it's clear that they offer a lot of products. So you could easily walk in there, pick your product, and then just carry on. Here's an example of a gift shop image in malls, hotels, and hospitals. So they don't have the same advantage of having frontage as on a street. They have different issues. And so they have to compete with all the other stores that are in the mall. In this case, it's the North York Hospital gift shop that I did the retail design in. And you can see that this corner here offered a great opportunity for putting in a feature display area. So I kept this area open in here and just big enough for you to do a really cool display. And when you look at this display too, this is obviously the Christmas one, you can see that because the lighting wasn't quite right. The lighting was good in here, but it wasn't quite right out in the hall as far as giving enough light on the windows. So I put this little floor lamp in. You can see the base of it here, and the top of it is up here. And I did this display, again, putting the chair on top of the table to increase height and just to build it all up. And because it was Winnie the Pooh, and they happened to have this little Winnie the Pooh umbrella, I was able to hang it with fishing line and a little hook onto the T-bar ceiling, the suspended ceiling, and that was a really cute little look there. In Christmas, you can tell that they don't have the light on, so nobody has bothered to switch the light on. They probably didn't want to keep it on 24/7, I don't know. But anyhow, that was, and I didn't do this one, so the staff did this one, but you can see that they had that space to do it in. It's sending a great message, and it's really a good image for the gift store. This is another example of where a little shop was inside a store, and it was a flower shop. And she had this little window and, of course, her door into her space. And I wanted to do something there that when I was helping her to make it look like a flower store. So when people walked in, they'd look down the end and they'd see this little awning. So we just went and got the fabric. And by the way, this is just a transfer I did, like a t-shirt. You can buy t-shirt transfers. So I just printed that up and put it on the t-shirt transfer and then ironed it onto this fabric. And then we just used a little curtain rod here with a nice extension on the bracket to make it look like an awning. And of course the word flowers, by the way, what you do and what you sell is more important than your name. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but they more want to know what it is that they're looking for, what it is that sells. They will look for that before they look for your name, especially if they're just looking for a flower shop and they don't know the name of the shop. That way they see, just like the first one was Toys, Crafts, and Books. It was very clear on their sign what they offer, and that's always important. So her image was perked up this way too. So first impressions equal image. Polish up your store inside with a new layout, different traffic patterns. Just move things around and see how people navigate, and watch how they navigate. Nowadays we have these huge strollers for these young families and moms. We have more seniors with walkers and wheelchairs, and we've got people wearing big backpacks that actually turn around in an aisle. And you want to be aware of the movement of those people, especially around corners, and also making your traffic pattern different. Is often that's all it takes sometimes, is for people just to shop more in your store or stay longer in there. Upgraded fixtures, new or refurbished. I'm a great fan of refurbishing fixtures. Some of them are very expensive. If you get chrome, they're usually good for a very long time. And if they're made out of wood or some of these other materials like melamine, you can then paint them. There are a lot of good paints on the market for that. New look on the walls. Add color, texture, or pattern. Light, more light, and the right light. Most of the time there is not enough light, or the light there is on the wrong product, on the wrong place. I've gone into more stores that have beautiful track lighting with the spotlights that are directional, and I look and I see that they've got the light on a bare wall, like they're lighting up the wall when they could just move it enough to put it down on a shelf and light some of the products and that kind of thing. And I often say, if you can't put the light where the product is, then go put the product where the light is. But it makes a huge difference. Light is life. Signage. A sign is designed to inform, direct, and promote. If you have too many signs, people don't read them because they get overload. It's like looking at classified ads in a paper versus display ads. Display ad has more white space around or a border or something, you can really see it and focus in on it. Classified ads, you have to read every line, and that happens in stores that have too many signs. So you want signs, you want the right signs, especially like departments and categories and things like that, that people can identify the area they want to go and look in. Service stations, as in your cash register and gift wrap. Rest area, play area. In some cases, if you're targeting to families, that's a good idea to have one. And of course, storage areas that are out of sight. You want to plan as many storage areas as you can in the store so that you aren't running back, especially if you're an independent retailer and you're there alone a lot, or you only have one staff at a time. It's a good idea then to plan storage areas in the store so that your staff doesn't have to go way back into a back room to either get backup stock or the box that belongs to the product. Here's an example back there in Jasper at Edge Control. You can see this is before what his counter, his sales counter looked like. This is how the back was, and you can see what we did after. Here's the first thing we did was we tidied it up a little bit. But the main thing we did is we did painting, and we painted a yellow, a nice, really bright, soft yellow. Everything looked good with it. And this gray color, kind of the neutral color, was our accent color. And then in this case, the simplest thing to do, he built these literally a 2x4 platform to raise that counter up. And that made all the difference. And then, of course, we changed up what was happening in the back. There was no point in putting this because no one is going to go behind the till to buy it. Now, if it's something you don't want anyone to buy because it's very expensive and you want to handle it, then they have to ask to see it, and you have to be there to service them. Otherwise, we moved things around. You could see how we cleaned up everything and made it a lot better afterwards. And you can see that by painting this all one color and then painting the post separate, we made the post into more of an architectural feature, and the yellow just takes up, it heightens the ceiling and the feeling of spaciousness. These little pictures up here, which are skiers, we left them there because they're fine. They suit the image of the store and the product, so that was all working fine. Decluttering behind the service counter, that's what was important. Raising the counter 6 inches, adding the pendant lights. You see how the pendant lights brought more light down over the counter, and everywhere there's light, there's life, and you feel more comfortable and you feel more warm. Painting the wall gray, as I pointed out, and lifting the high, left the high images, which I also mentioned. So image created plus image maintained, again, is we're still target marketing. So first impressions equal image, like we said. And here we have an example of what I did in his windows. This is a summer window. You can see hiking gear, summer gear, and this is a winter. You can see the ski suit, the skis, the boots, and obviously the Christmas tree in the back there. Now, the one thing that I recommended for him is that he buy these panels, and they happen to be in IKEA that year. Buy these panels and hang them. So they're doing several things. Firstly, they're creating a backdrop for what you put in front of them. Secondly, they are hindering you from looking in the store and getting visually distracted by everything that's behind. We want them to focus on what's in the window. And the other thing is the fabric is light enough, airy enough that the light from the window is still coming through into the store. It doesn't look dark at that point. Keep in mind too that 100% go by at night too. In fact, a lot of times you need to have timers on your light, because once you closed up and gone home, especially in the northern hemisphere where it gets dark very early in the winter and dark late in the morning as well, you want to keep those on. People are driving around at night. They're coming home from a theater, coming home from restaurants. You want them to drive by your store and see what's in it. So be sure to light it right. Light with focus lighting, facing, obviously facing, not straight down. If you have light straight down, it just creates weird shadows and it doesn't look good. You need the light facing. So either from the top facing down, away and facing down, or from the bottom and facing the light. So facing the product, that's exactly what you want at night. Here's another accent, because one way you can spruce up your store's image is with special effects with paint. Now, what I did in here, as I pointed out already, we kind of took away this green and we just had the neutral gray, and then we had this yellow. And the yellow to me represented more of what they do in the summer, whereas the gray represented more of what they do in the winter, but each color is working off itself. So before we had this HVAC running down the side of it, so I chose to paint, just paint over it, just paint it in. In the meantime, we also put these panels on the wall that divided things. Instead of having front facing, we had side facing. You'll sell more that way. More is visible. And then you can see he had 2 dressing rooms. They were portable, which was kind of clever. We painted them to match the walls, so they just kind of blend in and they're there. We moved one over here and the other one's actually on the other side of the room. We didn't really need them here because this is where the whitewater rafting station was, and it's also where the skiing is in the winter time. So having the dressing rooms there was just asking for a bottleneck in that area, and that wasn't necessary or very practical. Divide and conquer customers. Okay, before you can see again everything front facing, the hats all up here where you can't reach them. And we have these fixtures, great fixtures. They suited the image perfectly. We've got them going straight in, like straight in. Whereas when I did up the store, we turned them at an angle, which meant that when people came in, they could look down there and see what was at the end, compared to looking down here and seeing this. So they're more inclined to go down there. And then when they turn around, we're actually channeling and funneling them back into the store by putting everything at these angles. In the pictures you saw just before, in the window, this is the window, and I had him build a platform in here. So by building a platform here that was right at that glass level, he was able to put more product in there that you could see. He's got these ski boots in here. You're not going to see them unless you're standing right at the window looking inside, and most people aren't doing that. So what's the takeaway here? Ask yourself, what are the first impressions of my store from the outside in? I've actually gone to work in malls, and I've taken the whole team, everybody down, and I say take them down where they can't see their store anymore. Then we turn around and then I ask them to stop. Once you can see your store, stop. Well, different people stop at different places, which is expected because that's what happens, because different people are either looking for different things or different things catch their eye. Then the next question is, do you like what you see, and is that representing? Is that what you want people to see for their first glance as they come around the corner? And then we go and we do it the other way. We do it outside as well, and sometimes we drive by. When is the first time you see your store? Where do you see it from? Is that what you want people to see? That's really an important question to ask yourself. And if you don't like the image your store has, what would you like to do to change it? I have lots of ideas ongoing, and if you want to watch the other video in this playlist is called What Image Is. It goes into more detail of what it is, and it looks at your store's vibe. The other video is called Organize Equals Sales for products and presentations. I'm showing you some tips and tricks and things to keep in mind. And Look Good, Sell Well is where we talk about people and price. And those kind of go together as well. So you kind of expect somebody in a high-end store to be dressed a certain way, and someone in a fashion store to be dressed a certain way. And in the bakery, you're happy when you see them with an apron on and maybe flour all over their face. But we're going to go into the details about that too. So make your store more with the 4 keys. The Organized Retailer is a book that I have written. So learn how and learn now with this downloadable PDF for free. Transform your store beginning today. And what this is it covers a client of mine named Velda, Velda's Grow Direct. And she boosted her sales by 70% in 3 years after we finished doing her store until she successfully sold her business. And she said she had more productive staff. She had organized supplies. They saved time preventing over-purchasing, improving workflow, engaging displays. Customers browsed longer. They found add-ons easily, and they spent more. And then streamlined customer service. We always include customer service. A lot of times people think, well, that isn't part of visual merchandising because it's not about the merchandise. But no, it's about the experience shopping in your store, and that's what good merchandising is all about. So feel free to go to todaysdisplays.com and for more resources, and I hope to see you in one of the other videos. Talk soon. Bye.